Earlier this year, I had the pleasure of being at the Lyric Theatre Hammersmith to see an adaptation of Dario Fo's 1970 play Accidental Death of an Anarchist. The story now is relocated from a police station in Milan, from which a supposed anarchist has been defenestrated, to London, where the play's quick-witted protagonist runs rings around the Metropolitan Police to expose its guilt. It's been adapted by actor, writer and comedian Tom Basden, who's retained both the biting critique and the hilarity of the original play. As of tomorrow, the play will be staged at the Haymarket Theatre in London's West End, still starring Daniel Rigby. And I'm delighted to say that Tom joins me now. Tom Basden, welcome very much to GB News.
Thank you.
It's an amazing play. What made you think of doing an adaptation of a 1970 Italian play?
Well, back when I started writing it, which was around 2014, Theresa May had just delivered that broadside to the Police Federation about, it was all about stop and searches and racial profiling back then. Still goes on. And there was a lot of pressure, particularly on the Metropolitan Police, but on policing in general. And it felt like this play, which is both so funny and, you know, riotous, as you say, was suddenly quite urgent and talked about things that, you know, were happening now in this country, and I thought there'd be an audience who wanted to see it.
Yeah, the original play was also serious in that there had been a defenestration of someone from a police station, and this was kind of best sent up, best explored through the medium of a farce. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, in the original play, when Dario Fo writes about his first, you know, the point at which he came to write it, because he based it all on official police testimonies and on you know, the police description of events, he said it was naturally a farce, that the play had to be a farce, because everything that the police were saying, the way they were presenting the story was so absurd, it was the only way that it could really be told. And so the farcical nature of it is kind of baked into the subject matter, really.
So what happens is that a character known as the Maniac, I mean, it's almost a one-man play. The Maniac comes into a police station. He takes on various guises. He is a sort of clown.
Yeah.
And he tricks the police into exposing the thinness of the lies that they've been telling about this person who's been pushed out of the window. That's broadly it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It's someone coming in and I guess analysing what the police are saying, applying logic to these absurd fantasies that the police have been spinning, and in doing so, kind of showing how thin and impossible that they are, and kind of, I guess, shining a light on how the police usually deal with these cases and how, in the past, they've managed to explain things away or get things, you know, to disappear.
In case people think that it's going to be an exclusively heavy evening, it is brilliantly entertaining.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, describe Daniel Rigby's talents. I mean, he struck me, I don't know whether he's ever been in circus, but he was like a circus clown at times, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There's a whole sequence that goes on for a very long time where he's just balancing on a table. You don't know whether it's going to fall off or not. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, completely. And there's a lot that I really can't take credit for, because physically, as a performer, he's really amazing. He's so skillful and just completely magnetic to watch. And he can do things. He can suddenly change his physicality to go in and out of different characters in a way that's completely spellbinding. And, you know, the effect that it has for the audience when they're in on the game that he's playing with the police is so intoxicating, I think. So, as you say, there's lots of physical moments that he himself added in, and we tried out in rehearsal, and it just the effect of it is just so delightful that I think sometimes what can happen is the audience forget that the subject matter's heavy, and then when they're reminded of it, it's quite shocking.
Is it true that you are continuously rewriting, adding material, updating?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, yeah. We first staged this play in Sheffield last year, and at that point it was about policing in general, and you know, the references were more like subjects like Hillsborough and Orgreave and things that made sense for a Sheffield audience. And then moving the play to London has meant that we can focus on the Metropolitan Police and much more about inner-city policing, really. And because these stories and scandals are coming out on a daily basis now, it feels, you know, I want to keep the players fresh and exciting and on the pulse as possible. So we are rewriting as much as the actors can bear, really, because it's a lot for them to to change it too much.
How frequent is it in Britain for a person to die in custody?
I don't know about the exact frequency, but since 1990 there have been, I think, 1,858 deaths in police custody or following contact with the police. But that's a figure that's rising all the time. So it's disgracefully frequent. Is the truth of it.
What I found extraordinary, I mean, you know my background. I'm a big establishment figure and I'm a Tory and all of those things. There's a moment where the main protagonist denounces, with a list, really, the things that have gone wrong with the Metropolitan Police, and the audience all applauded, and I was applauding as enthusiastically as anyone else.
That's great, yeah.
Well, what's gone wrong? What's gone wrong?
Well, I mean, you know, in my lifetime, what seems to have gone wrong is that after the kind of, you know, the landmark Macpherson report in '97, there's been almost no discernible change that communities have felt in policing, that the police officers who have been responsible for terrorising certain communities, who've been you know, constantly being reprimanded for racist, misogynistic, homophobic behaviour, have not been dealt with. You know, in the last 10 years, and this is something we talk about in the play, of the 1,800-odd police officers who've faced multiple misconduct charges, the police have fired 13 of them. And you know, when you look at the information in the Casey report, which isn't, you know, has no agenda, it's not partisan, it's just the information. It's completely shocking how little has been done, how little effort has been made by the police to actually deal with the officers that they know are problematic, that they know have a history of these behaviours. They just move them around. They just find ways to not deal with it.
We've been talking about a farce, which is very serious. Thank you very much to Tom Basden, accidental death of an anarchist at the Haymarket.
At the Theatre Royal Haymarket.
Theatre Royal Haymarket.